faithfully delivering value and interpreting the world's best books. Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'll be interpreting the book called Finite and Infinite Games for you. Its subtitle, A Competitive World as Seen by a Philosopher. James Carse, the author, taught at New York University for over 30 years and is a renowned philosopher and religious studies scholar. He believes that everyday anxieties, fears, depression, and pain come from being trapped in what he calls finite games without realizing it. So they desperately need a shift in their game or life perspective to live a wiser existence. That's why he wrote this book. In the book, the author deeply analyzes human social and natural environments from a philosopher's view, comparing life's complexities to two types of games. Finite games. These games are all about winning. Think competitions, sports, even wars. The other is infinite games. Infinite games focus solely on keeping the game going, like gardening or pursuing artistic excellence. Internet unicorn.
Wang Xing, Meituan's founder, mentioned this book shattered his understanding of boundaries and deeply impacted him.
Kevin Kelly, founding editor of Wired magazine, noted this book changed his views on life, the universe, and everything. If you've read his 1994 book, Out of Control, hailed as an internet prophecy, you'll find many ideas resonate with this one. Now, I'll cover this book in 3 parts. Part 1, features and examples of finite games. Part 2, features and examples of infinite games. Part 3, how to view nature and life through a gaming lens. Let's start with Part 1, features and examples of finite games. The author says that if you're eager to beat someone to win, you're in a finite game. Winning is key, and everyone, especially opponents and refs, must agree on who won, or even if kicked out, they won't think it's over. In short, the opponent must accept defeat wholeheartedly, or the game isn't really over. See, it's precisely because people aren't satisfied with the results that conflicts keep popping up, from big ones between nations to small ones between individuals. So, from simple board games to world wars that establish international order, do finite games share some common characteristics?
The answer is yes.
The first characteristic of finite games is that they have clear boundaries and rules that can't be easily changed. Finite games generally have 3 types of boundaries. Spatial boundaries, like the oppositions in World War II. Both sides agreed not to bomb Heidelberg and Paris, and declared Switzerland neutral in the conflict. If one side violates the spatial boundary at that point, people would question the legitimacy of their victory, even doubting whether it's a war or just senseless violence. Another is quantitative boundaries, or what you might call game eligibility. In any finite game, participants must find opponents, and sometimes they need to find teammates to form a united front. If people can freely enter or leave the game at will, it'll cause chaos among participants, making it impossible for anyone to become the recognized winner. It's like 2 people playing chess. If both sides swap players midway, it's hard to determine which player is actually better, no matter who wins or loses.
The third is temporal boundaries. Any finite game must have a clear start and end.
For example, in World War II, the European theater started with Germany's blitzkrieg invasion of Poland and ended with Germany's unconditional surrender. That's very clear. Besides clear boundaries, finite games also have rules that can't be easily altered. Take a simple example. In a running race, every participant must start after the gunshot, or it's a foul. In soccer, they use yellow cards for warnings and red cards to send players off for breaking rules. If a rule is specific to a particular game, it won't change while that game is being played. Otherwise, it becomes a completely different game. So, this might sound a bit confusing. Let's use chess as an example instead. Even though we sometimes use Go pieces to play Gomoku, we're still following Gomoku rules. So, players know exactly how to win, and these 2 games won't get mixed up. Let's summarize. Finite games have spatial boundaries, quantitative boundaries, temporal boundaries, and stable rules.
And all of this is to ensure the winner gets recognized. This is its first characteristic.
The second characteristic of finite games is that they follow the principle of voluntariness. Strangely, some players often don't realize they have the freedom to participate voluntarily and think that whatever they do is mandatory. People always feel as if called by an inner desire to join a competition or helplessly forced to choose sides in factional struggles, yet often can't feel they're competing voluntarily. Oh, oh. So, why do players feel they have no choice? And the illusion of being forced to play? It's because people voluntarily choose to play certain roles in social life. And any role in a game, they're not only restricted by the rules, but also surrounded by others' expectations. When the advising, Wu Di fighting, this was the ancient Chinese expectation for civil officials and military generals. Even games with life and death stakes occur voluntarily under role expectations. Ah. Did samurai commit suicide out of loyalty? Or knights duel for love because they had no choice? No, it's because they weren't willing to bear the cost of leaving their roles. They preferred life or death battles rather than be seen as deserters or cowards. Thus, players in a game can't do whatever they want while continuing to play their roles. So, it's not hard to understand that, on one hand, no one is forced to participate in finite games. They naturally have the freedom to leave at any time. But on the other hand, the boundaries of finite games require participants to stay in the struggle. To bridge this gap, participants in finite games, to some extent, obscure this freedom themselves, achieving self-limitation. It's like an excellent actor who doesn't think they're acting, but merges with the role, feeling they are the character. But after playing the role for too long, even when facing themselves, they're unwilling to remove the mask and frankly admit it's a voluntary choice. Through this role mask, facing the world, just as actors are unwilling to distinguish between role and self, all limitations in finite games are self-imposed limitations. The third characteristic of finite games: winners earn titles, and power follows to validate those titles, ensuring their permanent recognizability. This is a key function of society and the basis for its continuation. Soldiers who die for their country receive the nation's highest honors and are declared unforgettable heroes. Unknown martyrs are also commemorated. Though their names may be lost, their titles endure and their spirit lives on. If society loses this function, it will descend into uncontrollable chaos and peril. Just as when a nation betrays its history and belittles its heroes, its impending collapse is predictable. With titles comes power.
What is power?
The author views power as the magnitude of resistance one can overcome within set time and space. And crucially, power is measured comparatively. Whoever overcomes more obstacles demonstrates greater power, a universal truth. So where does power come from? Power is determined by the outcome of games. If someone already has enough power to win before the game starts, then what follows isn't truly a game, and no one would want to play. As Franz Beckenbauer famously said, it's never the strong who win, but the winners who become strong. When we discuss someone's power, we're really discussing what they've accomplished or titles they've won in some field over the years. You could say understanding power means looking backward. When you gain authoritative speaking privileges through a title, you achieve the highest honor. For example, a Nobel Prize laureate in biology can issue authoritative statements. Here, the victor's power shines brilliantly, recalling the three characteristics of finite games. The author proposes that if we understand society as everything people do beneath their role masks, we can view it wholly as a finite game. Society, too, has quantitative, spatial, and temporal boundaries. Citizens are precisely defined. Territory is sacred and inviolable. History is worshipped. Within these boundaries, it contains numerous smaller games, military conflicts, economic competitions, etc. These smaller games are interconnected because they all affect participants' ultimate social standing, who becomes the big brother in international society. Society is essentially a stage for displaying power. In this book, the author interprets society through a finite games lens, revealing its underlying logic, especially exploring bureaucracy's origins, power distribution, and how individuals connect deeply with society. Let's explore together. Ensuring game rules remain untampered is a vital social function. For example, academia has peer review, business requires licenses, nations hold elections, all to enable competition in specific finite games. Any victory or power gained through rule-compliant social participation must be formally recognized. Schools issue diplomas, commerce certifies businesses, even neighborhoods honor model families. This bureaucratic machinery stems from such needs. So, how is social power distributed? Power derives directly from achievements in competitions: academic, professional, governmental. This requires society to preserve rule integrity and institutional memory of achievements. Model workers, heroes, officials. These honorifics are society's memory of victors, crucial for maintaining order. Yet, society's most treasured memory remains martyrs who died defending it against foreign threats. Finally, how do individuals connect with society? Society's collective power, its international standing, comes from defeating others in higher stakes finite games. Today's world order stems from the post-War II Yalta system. Only nations that fought and won earn respect. Only when a nation maintains unified power can its members' rewards be guaranteed. Otherwise, national wealth invites foreign covetousness and plunder. As the saying goes, better a dog in peaceful times than a man in chaos. Thus, patriotism becomes inseparable from every societal game. No nation, no home. This holds true across all cultures. Once a society exists, maximizing rewards and success pathways ensures beneficiaries will defend it relentlessly. A society as a whole, one with rigid social strata and no vitality, simply cannot erupt with cries like, "Every commoner bears responsibility for the nation's fate." This concludes our discussion on finite games represented by society. Now let's move to part 2, characteristics and examples of infinite games. Unlike finite games, infinite games have no winners. Their sole purpose is preventing the game from ending so everyone can keep playing. Thus, infinite games also have unique traits. First characteristic: no boundaries and rules must constantly evolve. Unlike finite games, infinite games have no time boundaries. You can't say how long they've lasted or how long they'll continue. Take Zhang Roshu's masterpiece, Spring River on a Flower Moon Night, hailed as surpassing all Tang poetry, with lines: "Who first saw the moon by the river? When did moonlight first grace humans? Generations pass endlessly, while the river moon remains unchanged, year after year." This describes a classic infinite game. Infinite games also lack spatial and numerical boundaries. Like how artists have nationalities but art has none, anyone can appreciate or create art, joining infinite games at will. Though boundless, infinite game players face powerful limitations: exhaustion, scarce resources, illness, even death. Finite game rules ensure winner recognition, hence require stability. But infinite game rules change to prevent winners and maximize participation, adapting to player needs and game progression. For example, language grammar must evolve with eras and habits to ensure linguistic continuity. Second characteristic of infinite games: advancing toward the world. What is the world? It means the scope of vision, or a spiritual realm of perception about surroundings. As Xinxi wrote in Ugly Slave, inscribed on Boshan Road wall during Southern Song, "Young, I knew not sorrow's taste, loved climbing towers, forcing sorrowful words for new verses. Now knowing sorrow's depth, I try to speak but halt, only saying what cool autumn weather." The melodramatic sighs about spring and autumn in youth were just cries for attention and comfort. After truly experiencing life's storms, you realize sorrow must be digested alone. This is how different life stages bring layered understandings of grief. The world itself holds nothing. It's not a line, a circle, nor has coordinates. It's simply the sum of what your eyes see and heart reaches. Advancing toward the world only creates newer, vaster worlds, so we expand it endlessly but never arrive. Imagine climbing the world's highest peak. You might achieve it, but seeking artistic pinnacles means each breakthrough reveals new possibilities ahead. Thus, finite players move within boundaries, while infinite players stride toward the world with each step. That's why every infinite game moment offers fresh possibilities. Like all cultural explosions, China's 100 schools of thought didn't just develop one world. They relentlessly sought new worlds to birth newer ones. Boundless, infinite games transcend time or space. Each tradition passing transforms it anew. Like a newborn transforming its family, same yet fundamentally new. Bird trait of infinite games. No power exists within, only strength. Infinite players don't fight others. They initiate actions to draw responses, keeping the game alive. Strength is power's counterpart here. Finite players compete for power. Infinite players enjoy the game through strength. Strength isn't forcing others, it's allowing others to act freely within the game. Like in exams, you focus on scores. What winning gains you?
While art appreciation connects you to the creator's soul and fellow viewers through discussion.
You're not here to win or lose, but to find kindred spirits through expression and listening. Referencing the three characteristics of infinite games, we can clearly see that culture, encompassing literature, art, education, is the ultimate representation of infinite games. Culture emerges when people collectively agree on norms, ethics, and communication methods while forming communities. Culture has no boundaries. Within any culture, anyone can participate anytime, anywhere. It subtly shapes our behavior. We're constantly enveloped in culture. Society, as a finite game, meticulously maintains time-bound events and commemorations that form historical trajectories. Culture has no temporal limits. It's an ongoing journey toward infinity. An open-ended trajectory. Living in such potent culture, people naturally engage in boundary-expanding games. Like Chinese culture's emphasis on self-cultivation, family harmony, national governance, and global peace. Hence daily self-reflection to enrich character. Just as infinite games have rule cultures, they also evolve traditions. Infinite game rules can change freely. Cultural traditions transform too, gaining new vitality through reinvention. Meanwhile, finite players move within boundaries while infinite players stride toward the world. Therefore, severing ties with the past causes cultural amnesia. Such approaches hold no cultural value. Meaningful change comes from re-examining traditions with fresh perspectives, making the familiar unfamiliar again. Culture itself is creation. All participants are creators, so quantitative boundaries or eligibility don't exist. Inventors, makers, artists, storytellers, myth weavers, all are cultural creators, and cultural creation has no final product or endpoint. Take art and culture. Art can't become property, and property can never be art. Because property fixates on titles, collectors may spend fortunes acquiring masterpieces as possessions, but what they purchase is the artwork, not the art itself. Art is dynamic, always opening forward, taking us into broader worlds. Not a finished purchasable commodity. Non-repeatability is culture's hallmark. Mozart's Symphony No. 41 can't be recomposed, nor Da Vinci paint Mona Lisa twice. Society preserves these as victors' trophies. Yet culture sees them not as victories, but as masterful transmissions, original adaptations inspiring endless new creations. This is infinite gaming's power. Having covered finite and infinite games, characteristics, and examples, finally, part 3, viewing nature and life through gaming lenses. All our lives are inevitably immersed in nature. Humans hold two contrasting attitudes toward nature. From finite perspective, humans believe nature contains predictable structures we can ultimately master, exploit, and conquer. Like understanding light reflection lets us build telescopes. Calculating sound speed enables sonar distance measurement. This mindset drives humanity's relentless quest to control nature, seeking power over laws and fellow players. For instance, sobering example, Physicists discovering predictable atomic reactions led directly to nuclear bombs. True, atomic explosions validated their predictions, but detonating them wasn't just about proving theories right. America dropped them to intimidate and control other nations. Superficially, we exert force upon nature. Actually, it's our power-hungry desire to dominate others disguised as controlling nature. From infinite perspective, nature unfolds in its own rhythm, telling an endless story. As Zhuangzi said in Northern Journeys, heaven earth's great beauty speaks not, seasons follow unchanging laws. All things have inherent principles they don't proclaim, meaning heaven and earth's beauty, seasonal changes, and nature's workings follow their own logic without explicit declaration. Nature is an infinite game aimed at continuation, with no temporal boundaries. A successful harvest isn't the field's end, just one phase of its existence. Plants don't die in winter, they wait quietly for spring. Nature's rules change too, and species adapt habits to environmental shifts. From nature's infinite game, we learn that adapting to rule changes better sustains life's continuity and growth. Thus, wise parents don't obsess over molding children to preset scripts. Wise parents tirelessly grow alongside their kids. Same goes for work and love. At work, we constantly learn and adjust to content and environment. In love, explore relationship, art together. Don't demand perpetual first meeting perfection. Finally, the unavoidable question. Is life finite or infinite gaming? Honestly, it depends on our perspective. Viewing life as finite, limited time and space to play roles for rankings, inevitably breeds anxiety and panic. At 20, we design futures with ample time, but later the game accelerates. As options narrow, choices grow critical. 30 brings marriage or child choices. 40 forces career and housing decisions. Each cramped move risks total loss. No wonder youth is seen as life's possibility-rich phase. Back then, countless paths to success existed with room for error. But time raises the strategic cost of every decision. For finite players, we need time to have freedom. Moreover, finite game participants only want to win, so at work, they strive for superiors' recognition and higher titles. In family life, they insist on arguing right versus wrong with partners, even demanding absolute obedience from children to showcase power. If asked why not relax, they'll say, I have no choice, even citing proverbs like, sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you retreat. This is the illusion of being forced into finite games we mentioned earlier. But viewing life as an infinite game suddenly makes everything clear. Take Su Dongpo as an example. He's a quintessential infinite game player. During his political career, he never lost himself in deceitful power struggles just to win titles. Instead, he constantly appreciated beauty and art. Even when exiled to Hangzhou, he invented Dongpo pork. Meanwhile, finite players of his era gained temporary titles, then were forgotten by history, while infinite players like Su Dongpo and Tao Yuanming remain in the game, their works continually referenced, even revitalized in cross-era dialogues. Thus, infinite games possess the power to redefine time. For infinite players, they freely possess time. They are joyful poets in an endless, ongoing game. Facing work, infinite players care more about whether it brings happiness and fulfillment. Whether it fills their days with hope and enhances life quality, they allow competition but never equate winning with titles or power. In family life, they'd never imagine loved ones as rivals to assert dominance as head of household. All their decisions aim to continue the game beautifully. Perhaps we should all view life as a true journey, an unending, infinite game. Traveling isn't about reaching a place, but constantly discovering you're already elsewhere. Stop seeing landscapes as changing scenes. See yourself as eternally on the road. As Proust, pioneer of stream of consciousness literature, said, the real voyage isn't seeing new landscapes, but seeing the same landscape with new eyes. Thus concludes Finite and Infinite Games. That's all for this book interpretation. You can find the reading notes below the audio. See you next time.